Babies, are we here? Yeah. All right, process modeling. Come on, guys. I wanted to do this yesterday, just couldn't. I think yesterday I downed like 13 videos or something. It was intense. Process modeling is a standardized graphical model used to show how work is carried out and is a foundation for process analysis. All right, so in order for you to basically analyze the process, see, here's the thing. My favorite guy is Richard Feynman. Well, Dr. Richard Feynman. He won a Nobel Prize for the Feynman diagrams in physics, and he really says something that's beautiful. He said something once that's beautiful. It changed the way I saw the world, and it's like you don't think by following your thoughts. You think by creating a hypothesis and then kind of like figuring out a way to reach it or prove it wrong. And the more you do that, the more it becomes a theory, and eventually you either kind of like find proof, or it just becomes super strong that it's applicable, yet you can't really like show small. It's unproven. Like gravity is not proven. It's still a theory. But we all operate with gravity as an actual like standard, right? Anyways, though, the idea behind it is in order to analyze a process, you have to have a model that faces it in order to basically test the process based on the model and to go back and forth. Because the process on its own works, or at the very least, it leads somewhere, it does something. And then you go like, oh, but I wanted to do this instead of that. Okay, so hypothetically, this makes it happen. And then basically, as you create the model in your head, written, you drive it, you draw it, you ask questions, you check the possibilities. The last thing I could do is go to a fucking like, you know those smaller cars that are like for, oh, the cars that are not really like carish, they're more like blocky, like that look like the Smart. Forgot what it's called, the Nissan Tico and shit like this. Those smaller cars, you cannot fucking expect them to drive as fast as a fucking Ferrari. Why? Because they're designed differently. They're a different model. And so ultimately, like, expectations versus the model, and then the process that which it goes through, the model goes through for the expectations to actually happen. What are the description? What's the description? Process models describe the sequential flow of work activities, as in like, this happens, then this, then this, then this. Therefore, this happens. Therefore. A process model describes a sequential flow of work across defined tasks and activities through the enterprise or part of an enterprise. So listen to this, man. And then, that means this did not impact this. Therefore, if this happens, then therefore, this happens because this happened. So this is more of a process instead of everyone kind of like harmoniously going like now, click, done, move, right? There's always something has to happen. When it's done, it's an event, it's signals. It's like, okay, done, this is done, do this is done, do this. So a system process model defines a sequential flow of control among programs or units within a computer system, of course. Events, computers use events as well. A program processes process flow shows the sequential execution of program statements within a software program. A process model, they're still talking about sequential execution, they're just talking about software programs. Like this code triggers this code. And it's the same, it's like the factory finishing the product triggers the logistics to take it, triggers the actual sales to sell it. The process model can also be used in documenting operational procedures. Yes, as in like, some models don't have to be created from scratch. They have to be just observed and edited, which is what I just talked about. Like, the product is created, logistics to actually deliver the product is triggered, and then sales is triggered. So you look at how that happens, and you're trying to make it better routes, better whatever. A process model can be constructed on multiple levels, each of which can be aligned to different stakeholder points of view. These levels exist to progressively decompose a complex process into component processes. Exactly. When they're talking about levels, they're not talking level 1, level 2, level 3. They're talking about like I think the abstract layers of a model, because if you're looking at the process, some I don't know, accountants need to see the process from a different angle than what's it called, than the salesman, right? So I'd assume. And they exist to progressively decompose a complex process into component processes, right? Like, that's basically it. It's a hierarchical thing. Like a CEO just wants to see the process going from A to Z and wants some numbers. Whilst the deeper you dive into the technicalities, the more people are actually looking at it. High enterprise, each level providing increased detail and precision. High enterprise or context level, the model provides a general understanding of the process and its relationship to other processes. At lower operational levels, it can define more granular activities and identify all outcomes, including exceptions and alternative paths. At the lowest system level, the model can be used as a basis for simulation or execution. Process models can be used to describe the context of a solution or part of a solution, describe what actually happens or is desired to happen during a process, provide an understandable description of sequence and activities to an external observer, provide a visual to accompany a text description, provide a basis for process analysis. The business analyst can use a process model to define the current state of process. These sounded very, describe the context of solution or part of a solution, describe what actually happens or is desired to happen during a process, right? Like they're kind of like labeling, like, by opening the door, you're allowing people to go in, and they could go in at certain speeds, and if you keep it open, then smoke eventually from cars driving by comes in, right? I don't know, like it seems like you should smoke. A business analyst can use a process model to define a current state or a process, also known as an as-is model, or a potential future. An as-is model is literally, this is what's going on right now, right? Or a potential future state, and another state, they basically go like, okay, this is the case right now, we took the process from what's happening right now. If we want that in the future, then we model it this way in the future in order to get that. So a model of the current state can provide understanding and agreement to what happens now. A model of future state can provide the alignment of what's desired to happen in the future. This is probably the better way to do things because ultimately it gives you something to kind of like measure, and it gives you the differences, or it shows you the kind of like, it shows you the limitations if you want to kind of like adjust what's going on right now. My best example is there are two kinds of engines when it comes to gas engines. I feel like, especially when it comes to like motorcycles, up to 225, I think, cc's, the engine's designed a certain way, but above 225, the engine has to be designed in a different way in order to kind of like handle itself differently or be able to put that much pressure out. And so for 250cc upwards, then it comes a completely different design of an engine, but the same engine could basically scale or could be basically adjusted to be 1100cc. So like, same design from 250 to 1000, but up to 225, it's a different design. I hope those are in the numbers, but the concept that I'm talking about is like, and sometimes things are actually amazing, and like I talk about that in my business lectures. Like businesses to survive, and as they prepare to start growing, there's vertical growth and horizontal growth. Each of them are different approaches and different things that you have to do. You can't do the same thing every day and expect a different result. So process models generally include the participants in the process, of course, the business event that triggers the process, of course, the business event that triggers the process, right? A customer comes, you open the door. If you just open the door for the sake of, or it's hot inside, you open the door, right? Or, I don't know, you just want to walk out, you open the door, right? Like there has to be something for a process to start, or else it's just kind of like wasting energy. The steps or activities of the process, both manual and automated. The path flows, the decision points that logically link those activities. Of course, like it's a logical approach in the process. But that's something I wanted to talk about or have a conversation with at one point. The results of the process. The most basic process model includes a trigger event, a sequence of activities, and a result. The more comprehensive process model can include other elements such as data materials, inputs and outputs, and call-out descriptions and supplement the graphical representation. It could be as simple as this leads to this, leads to this, to here is the chart, here is the graph, here are the impact points, and here are basically the hot areas and all that good stuff. What are the elements of a process? Well, many different notions are used in process modeling. The most commonly used notions include the following: flowcharts, value stream mapping. We talked about those earlier. Flowcharts are the squares, diamonds. These are the ones. Fucking love them. Start, something happens. This is a split, right? Adds more shit. Here is a decision, true, false. I've talked about these before. And each one of those is described. Data flow diagrams and unified model language diagrams are same as probably smooth flowcharts. A business process model and notation, BPMN, used across both business and information technology domain, is increasingly adopted as an industry standard. The business process model, I think, is this, right? This is a flowchart. And this is the business process model. Well, it's practically the same, but the business process model is a lot more technical, like kind of like has a bit more labels than a flowchart. And here is an activity diagram, which is practically the same, but every time there's an activity, it kind of like splits. The business process model kind of like does the same thing, but instead of this line, they do it kind of like a diamond. And let's continue. Integrated definition, IDF, notation, input, guide, outputs, CPOC, and value stream analyses for process modeling. Process models typically contain some of all the following key elements. There's an activity, an individual step or piece of work, like something moves. There's an event that happens with the activity, zero-time occurrence, which initiates, interrupts, or terminates activity. There's a directional flow, a path that indicates the logical sequence of the workflow in general, and there's a decision point. And then there's a link, and then there's a role, type of person or group involved in the process and its definitions. So it's kind of like telling you there are activities that happen and events across the activities, and it goes this way, and these are when decisions are made. And then this kind of like connects to some other place because the process is within a system, right? When you're looking at patterns, you're looking at what's coming out of a system. So a process is what creates those patterns, and a system is what allows the process to live, right? In the same department, in the same office, in the same warehouse, people are doing different things. So there are multiple processes happen at once. But when you're looking out back at you see a kind of pattern where like every once in a while, something moves here or something goes there or somebody is called to do something because like there's a whole lot that's happening. Here are flowcharts are used commonly with non-technical audiences. Yes, this is non-technical and are good for gaining both alignment with the process and the context of the solution. A flowchart can be simple, displaying just a sequence of activities, or it could be more comprehensive. Swing, swim lanes. A swim lane is partitioned area, horizontal or vertical, that segregates those activities in the process and are carried out by a particular role. Here are basically like, we say it's very simple. Start, task, input, output, decision. Simple. A business model and notation, BPMN, is basically, it's an industry standard language. Notice it's the same, task, but here, it just splits from one task to another. Here, they're isolating the split, right? The flow of work splits tasks are executed in parallel. So here, there's an event that happens. And they're saying, okay, they're highlighting this, and they're kind of like talking about all these extra things. And since this is a sub-process, they gave it here lane 2. They gave it a different lane. Here, see the sub-process? Why? It's because as this happens, this goes to the outside. This is within the closed circuit of the process. This is within the actual process. An activity diagram is one of the use case realization diagrams defined in unified modeling language. It's originally designed to elaborate on single use case. The only difference is this fucking line here. And if you look here, basically, well, this one just has a bit more notation elements that it uses. All three of them are the same fucking chart, right? Here, though, there's a data store, there's an input, there's a decision, there's an end of an event, a start of an event, right? They take you through it. This one's where, oh, okay, splits, everything else moves forward, a decision has to be made, it goes down. It doesn't really like show you the details, it just shows you how the process moves and ends. And whatever the sub-process is, everyone kind of like mentions it, right? A sub-process is. But with this one, at the very least, they're highlighting every single detail that kind of like happens in the process. So BPMN, business process model notation, is basically the one I use normally. Other than that, just use a flow, bro. Like literally, like something started, task happened, right? Input output is basically like a parallelogram. This is a parallelogram, right? Anytime there's a decision, it's a diamond. And it's a yes, no, and then another process happens, blah, 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 blah. I can give an example, and the best example is somebody wants to sign into a web page. They click, they give you the password. The password goes, and it goes like, all right, is it the right password or no? It's not the right password, it's false. So it goes back to the sub-process. You're like, give me a better password. And then you write it, and it goes back down here until it's true, it falls, right? So, stuff like that. The strengths, it appeals to basic human understanding of sequential activities. Most stakeholders are comfortable with the concepts of basic elements of a process model. The use of levels can accommodate the different perspectives of various stakeholder groups. Effective at showing how to handle large number of scenarios and parallel branches, because it kind of like distributes them, right? Can help identify any stakeholder groups that may otherwise been overlooked, facilitates the identification of potential improvements. You can add everything in the process, and you can like split it, because what you can do, I don't know, if you're doing digitally, then you can zoom in and out, because every single process kind of like looks this, you can put the whole system, and then every single system you zoom in and more people come out. And you can connect everyone to it, because you can do it as a matrix. Likely have value in its own right. They provide documentation for compliance purposes. Can be used as a baseline for continuous improvement. For safety as well, by the way, right? Like, processes are very important for safety. Because you're doing this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and like here's where people hurt themselves the most. It's like, stop. Can be used as a baseline for continuous improvement. It ensures labeling consistency across artifacts and provides transparency and clarity to process owners and participants on activity, responsibilities, sequence, and handovers. Yay! What are the limitations? Well, to many people in IT, a formal process model tends to reflect an older and more document-heavy approach to software development. Therefore, project time is not allocated to developing a process model, especially of the current state of problem domain. Can become extremely complex and unwieldy if not structured carefully. This is especially true if business rules and decisions are not managed separately from the process. Yeah, we have to, the reason why we separate decisions and rules from the process is because the process is designed based on the rules. It doesn't give us the rules, right? I think we've had this conversation before. Complex processes can involve many activities and rules. This can make them almost impossible for a single individual to understand and sign off. Yeah, you probably have to go through multiple departments for each approval in order for something to kind of like be finalized. But hey, who knows? Isn't that a CEO's job to understand this shit? Problems in a process cannot always be identified by looking at a high-level model. A more detailed model with reference to metadata such as path frequency, cost, and time factors is usually required. It is often necessary to engage with stakeholders directly to find the operational problems they have encountered while working with the process. Well, yeah, because if you're fixing the process, if you're creating a process or you're kind of like modeling one, you can't do up-down modeling. You have to do down-up modeling. You have to look at details. In a highly dynamic environment where things change quickly, process models can become obsolete, absolutely, and may prove difficult to maintain in the process model if the process model only serves as documentation, because it's not documentation, right? Stakeholders may alter the process to meet their needs without updating the model. That is always the case with every document that we have. After this, we have prototyping, dude. What did we learn about processes? Oh, we just kind of like, it's another way to pay attention.